Disorders Awareness Week because I approached James, who's organising the whole week, as I wanted to make a radio feature about how the university opens the discussion about mental illness and specifically eating disorders. I wanted to talk to some of the contributors and guests and get their opinions and insights on sharing their experiences of eating disorders in maybe different formats than we're used to. So I was very lucky to get an interview with Dave Chawner, who was the stand-up who came to give a set drawing on his own experiences as an anorexia patient. It was a very different format to what I was used to, a very different way of engaging with the subject, because it was through stand-up comedy, which is something you don't usually associate with an issue this serious. I think Dave's performance, his set was particularly effective because it was such a novel idea, harnessing comedy to open the discussion about eating disorders, which I think was very impactful, very engaging, very useful to the young audience he had, who perhaps might be a little daunted about talking about these issues or seeking help for these issues, but seeing Dave not make light of it, but engage with it in a completely different, very human way through comedy was, I think, hugely helpful to a lot of people, and also very informative to people like me in the audience who haven't had personal experience of these problems, and to be able to talk about them in an open, very normal, humorous way, if that makes sense. Secondly, I managed to talk to Sarah Robertson, who's an ex-student here who came to talk about her experience of working within the media and her findings on how the media reports stories about eating disorders, and how she feels that in lots of cases this is the wrong way to approach it. So for example, Sarah spoke about how some papers, some platforms tend to sensationalise stories about eating disorders, report details, unnecessary superfluous details about particular food that the people suffering with the eating disorder might be having, or include triggering photos with people with like gratuitous bones, gratuitous bare skin, to really emphasise how thin someone was, which actually didn't add to the story or add any more information, but just served as clickbait, served to sell papers. So that particular talk that Sarah gave about the media and their responsibility and how they're perhaps not really living up to their responsibilities to sort of ethically and safely report these stories really opened my eyes and was a completely new perspective that I hadn't considered before. Especially as a media student, it was really important. So yeah, I think the week as a whole was very well structured, covered a lot of ground, a lot of bases. There were some very different speakers, both male and female, from all professions, different walks of life, who came to talk about their own personal experience, really emphasised the fact that this is a topic that we should talk about. Obviously it's very discussed. It's not really a taboo topic anymore, eating disorders. It's something that we do see frequently discussed in the mainstream media, but this week really did emphasise that there are different ways to communicate, and effective ways to communicate, and ways not to communicate, which I thought was very helpful, very enlightening, very engaging, and has certainly changed my perspective on how we talk about and approach these issues.